everything was going wrong in my marriage. My wife, she was shut down. When she would communicate with me, it was all just anger and resentment. I got depressed. Eventually, I started doing some research. Within the first 2 to 3 weeks, I was able to go from being hopeless to a state of mind where I knew that I could accomplish this as long as I set my mind to it.
You just got to be coachable. Men, the admission for today's video is only one thing. If you're trying to save your marriage and you want to know how to do it, press that like button, but more importantly for you, press the subscribe button and change the settings to all. I don't want you to miss one single video that could actually help you save your marriage.
Welcome. This is Justin. Today, he's sharing the results that he had in the Divorce Stoppers program, the transformation that he's took by transforming his own leadership, taking his life from a zero state when I first met him all the way to the hero state of where he is now. And we're about to explore what was that zero state and what is the current hero state that he's walking in right now. So Justin, thank you for coming on and being vulnerable enough to share your experience and of where you were, the path that you took to go to where you are now, in hopes that this can give and encourage other men that are in a really, really bad place, feeling like that things are hopeless, that their life is, everything that they love is being lost, and that there is a reason to have hope because there's a way to change that situation and that circumstance. And we're going to talk about the path and the journey that you took within the program, outside of the program, the thought process that you went through as you were making the changes in your own life to transform your life and anybody else that might have affected as you were taking these steps along the journey. So thank you for coming on and welcome.
Thank you.
Here's my first question. What was going wrong in your marriage that led you to look for help that caused you to ultimately end up finding me in the Divorce Stoppers program? And what was the path that you took to meet me?
Well, first off, everything was going wrong in my marriage. It was probably a year where I knew that there was something that was not right that was going on. My wife, she was shut down. She wasn't really talking to me. When she would communicate with me, it was all just anger and resentment. And then finally, she hit me with the D bomb. She ended a divorce. I didn't see that coming at all. And of course, I told her I didn't see it coming, and she's like, "Well, how could you not see it coming?" Blah 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 blah. But anyway, it put me in this path. I got depressed. I was, like many other guys, I was contemplating suicide. And eventually, I started to do some research. I wanted to figure out how to save my marriage because that's what I wanted to do. I had 2 kids, and last thing I wanted to do was be a failure. So eventually I started looking on YouTube and Google, and that's where I found you. And ultimately you saved my life. So.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. So let me ask you a question about the path that you took to save your life. And I would even go far to go back to say, I didn't save your life. Your transformation and your leadership changed your life. And that's what's causing you to feel like it saved your life. And at the end of the day, it could have saved your life. But let me ask you, let's dig just a little bit deeper. So before you and I met and you did an enrollment call with us to see if the program is a good fit for you and to see if you were a good fit for the program, what all were you finding on YouTube? And what were you finding on there that was working and that maybe wasn't working? And what are some things that you tried that maybe gave you some results, but then maybe it backfired or it stopped working or it wasn't enough? Share your experience of that. If there is, maybe you just did one video and you came right to us. I don't know. But what was that path like for you to come in to realizing that what we do here, the way that I teach the program, the coaching calls that we do, and the journey that we take you on step by step to get you to the place that's in line with your goals and teaching you how to align your actions with your goals instead of your feelings, and also to give you hope. What was the journey that you took to enter the program? Did you try other things? What else? Who else were you watching on YouTube that maybe was working or wasn't working? Share that experience just a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure thing. So I got lucky. I kind of rolled up on one of your videos rather quickly, but I do remember, exploring my options and looking at other websites and YouTube videos. And I can't remember this one guy's name. I remember he was an old man and he's a doctor. And yeah, I really can't remember his name, but he was talking about pies. But I tried going through that. Nothing worked for me. I also, tried doing everything around the house. I was questioning what I was doing wrong. What would she complain about?
Right.
And ultimately that didn't fix anything. Cleaning the house didn't help my marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, I got rather lucky when it came to finding you and you providing the tools that I needed in order to actually get to where I am now in terms of
So
leadership. And
okay, that makes sense. And we hear that same story a lot. And, as of today, we don't do any paid advertising. And so the fact that you found me relatively quickly is something that I rarely hear, because all of my traffic right now is organic. We've never ran one paid ad since the company started 11 years ago, which I don't think anything of anybody that runs paid ads. We have a plan to do that this year, but I've never done that. And so the reason I bring that up is that 50% of the students that come into the divorce office program, they're in another program that's not working. It helps them feel better, and maybe it'll snap them out of suicide and, make them feel a little bit better about themselves, but it does nothing to give them the relationship and or the life that they want to help them move forward to actually be happy and have a good relationship with their soulmate. So you mentioned that you were in a state of depression. On the day that I met you, dig just a little bit deeper about your spiritual place and your emotional place of what were the feelings that you were experiencing that was causing you to get into the mindset of thinking about, there's no reason to have hope anymore. This is living in hell. Maybe it would be better if I just checked out. What were the emotions that you were going through and the thoughts that you were having when you were dealing with that?
yeah, like I said, I was in a very deep hole. I was extremely sad, depressed, guilty, because I knew that this was my fault and I didn't know what to do in order to make it to where I could fix my marriage. It was just, I felt like there was nothing that I could do at all. Luckily, I was able to find you guys to help me out with that.
What was your breaking point in that, when you kind of had this paradigm shift where you're like, I can't live like this anymore? Was there an aha moment for you? A lot of people there is, most people there is, some people there's not.
Yeah, my breaking point was when my mother, she ended up passing, and it was relatively close to the time when she said she wanted a divorce. So it was two separate incidents that were relatively back to back, and I knew that at that point in time that I wasn't going to be able to handle it.
You weren't going to be able to handle what you were going through with your mom, on top of the feelings of hopelessness in your life because of the status of your relationship and your marriage, right?
Yes.
So you said you had watched some other people on YouTube. You had looked at another program doing some other acronyms, whatever that means, and those things weren't working for you. What was it about when you did your enrollment call? We called that an enrollment session or a strategy session, where the goal of that, really the goal of those calls, are for us to determine, are you a good fit for the program? Because pretty much 100% of the people that we get on the phone call with, if they're lucky enough to get a phone call with us, is they already know that it's something that they need and want to do from watching YouTube videos. Like, they already know this is something I need to do. The question is, on that call, are they going to let me in? Do they think that I'm a good fit and not going to be a nightmare client inside the program?
Right.
What was it about on that call? Were you already ready to go before you met us, or was there something on that call? I guess here's the question: before the call and or after the call or during the call, whenever you made a decision to move forward with this program, what was it specifically about this program that caused you to take action within this program instead of another therapy or coaching session or counseling or something like that? For you, what was the difference in the experience that caused you to take action here?
For me, with my experience with the call that we had initially, I believe that it was how confident you were in how your program was set up, and that if I were to actually complete the steps, follow the coaching, that my life is going to be completely turned around. And it didn't seem like you were just after, my money like everybody else was. And
Did you feel like, so I did your strategy session, right?
you did? Yeah.
On that strategy session call, did you feel like anything in me was trying to sell you something? And I'm not wrong. I'm not married to the answer. If you felt like that, it's okay to say yes.
No, absolutely not. No. I feel like if you could give it to someone for free, you would do it.
Well, for 8 years I did. And that was the biggest mistake that I ever made in my life, because I did that for 8 years with an intention to serve people. But whenever my wife and I decided to make this our primary business, we left a multi-million-dollar insurance agency that we owned, where we had offices in the southern United States and in the Caribbean. And we just felt like our dream was always to take the wealth from that when we retired from it, and to take the marriage help business around the world as a nonprofit for free. But God had other plans. And we would have been probably 10 years down the road before we would have done that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And when God said, I have other plans, no, we're going to turn that nonprofit into a for-profit business. It was the best decision that I ever made for students, because when it was our sole and only focus, we 10x the quality of the program. It used to be a 7-month program, and now it's 7 weeks. And even though you have lifetime access to it, not everybody accomplishes everything that they want to accomplish in 7 weeks. But would you agree that you learned everything that you needed to know to have a paradigm shift up here, to be transformed up here and here? Would you say that all of the information that brought about transformation in you was accomplished in 7 weeks? Even
Absolutely.
though you still continue to walk the walk, did you accomplish that in the 7 weeks? That it used to take 7 to 9 months, by the way. And I thought we were serving people back then because it was free. And so let me ask you this, knowing what you invested in the program of your time and your finances. If I were to say, let's go back in time to a little bit over a decade ago when my wife and I started this. If I were to say, okay, we can walk you through these same steps in 7 months, or if you invest financially, we can powerhouse that in 7 weeks. Was it worth the finances you invest to expedite that, to speed it up? This is why I say time is only on your side if you put it there. I learned that when we went all in and made this a for-profit business, because we were putting all of our time, effort, and energy and spirit and prayers into this. And would you say that I did those people a decade ago that I was giving it to for free a disservice, because they were probably out more money financially because it took so much longer in that program at that time?
Right. 7 weeks for sure. Like, it changed my entire life. I was not expecting that. Whenever you initially said 7 weeks, I was like, okay, let's see. I'm not sure about this, but I'll give him a shot. And 7 weeks for sure. Like, my entire life was changed.
So
I wouldn't.
go ahead. You wouldn't what?
I wouldn't say that the 7 month thing was a disservice, but I'm not sure if I'd have had 7 months. The quicker, the better. And the program helped me get to where I needed to be relatively quickly.
So what was the turning point for you? So, like, you're a brand new student, you come into the program. What was the turning point for you in the program as far as the changes that you made? So when I met you, you were hopeless.
Right. I was hopeless. I was 325 pounds, this depressed guy who had no hope. I wasn't even sure if I had any friends at that point in time. And through the program, I was able to lose over 100 pounds and completely change my appearance, more confidence, just everything changed for the better.
Yeah, like 125 pounds and weight loss. And a lot of students, when I meet them, when I was going through this, I was the first student in this version of the program. And I say this version, we've changed it 4 times to get better and better and better. So this is technically the 4th version. But as we evolved into divorce stoppers, as what we call the actual teaching now, as we evolved into that, I was the first student in this version of the program. Before I started walking all these steps myself, I had lost 40 pounds and I was trying to gain weight. And that's a common thing among my students. A lot of people lose weight in the depression. You've lost in the program, you said, how much? 125 pounds?
I went from 325 and I'm almost to 200 now.
200. So that's an amazing transformation in your body. What was the first shift that you made in the program? You come into the program and you're hopeless, rather. So when you joined the program, you were in a really bad place and having extreme feelings of hopelessness. How soon did it take you to get out of that state mentally?
I'm going to say probably within the first 2 to 3 weeks, I was able to go from being hopeless to a state of mind where I knew that I could accomplish this as long as I set my mind to it. That was a complete shift from where it was not even a month prior to that. So
let me ask you this question, Justin. When on day 1 of the program, the first thing that we now do for all students, and you were a part of this when we made this change, was every new student can see all of the other students that are actively going through the 7-week process. And not only can you see them, it's a confidential group, so nobody outside of it has access. And we call that group Iron Sharpens Iron. That's not the program, but that's the support group of the other students that are going from the 0 to the hero state. Some are behind you, some are ahead of you. What did that do for you on day one to not only see those students and to meet the students and to be able to engage with the students, but also to see the results that each of those students were having? What did that do for you here and up here day one before you ever had your first coaching call or did your first lesson?
Right. So first off, seeing is believing. So if you can see all the progress that all your brothers are making on this Facebook group, and I would see someone accomplish something, and that's proof right there that what you're doing is working. Also, just being able to connect with other people. I know I've made some lifelong friends that I still talk to through this day. I know,
Yeah.
remember Mike?
Yeah.
I still talk to him. We don't talk like we used to, but I still talk to him. That's one of the things that I'm extremely grateful for. But we were able to help each other and bring each other up through the program.
I think it's a beautiful thing that it gives you that part of the program, which is not even really part of the program. It's just like the support group to support you in the program. I think so many students that I meet, the majority of men that I meet, and you know this from being in the program, is that when we first bring you into the fold, the majority of men don't have friends. They go to work, they work their tail off, they go home and they do their thing or whatever, then they go back to work. And they might have had friends before they got married, but one of the common things among men is you give up your friends. You don't have any close masculine connections anymore outside of maybe you go to church or something like that and you have like people you talk to. But as far as building intimate masculine connections that are something where that this guy, if I ever need to hide a body, he's there for me. Because you have people that are kind of like, that are, I attract a lot of people that think similar to I do. And the goal is if you don't already think like I do when you join the program, I really want to have the influence to rub off on you in a lot of those areas to give you a new vision for your life, to realize that maybe even in addition to your marriage, there's maybe a higher purpose for your life. And today you don't really see a path to achieve that. So you've stopped even thinking about it. Like that little boy inside us that's always, as a little child, we had these dreams. And we felt like, there's got to be more to life than this, and I'm going to achieve that. And then life happens and we get busy with work and we give up on those dreams, but that aids to our misery and our depression. And so deep down, we know there's got to be something more to this life. But the masculine friendships that we meet, it's one of the reasons that I've named it Iron Sharpens Iron. And even my Iron Sharpens Iron client success manager, Marcel, when I brought him on, the first thing I looked is, what does his name mean? And it means young warrior. And the symbol for iron sharpens iron is the two swords. Right. And I'm like, this is why I talk about spice and the spiritual attraction, because there's something to that. And there's no doubt in my mind that was not a coincidence, that's literally what his name meant. So as you're walking that journey, did you have a lot of friends before you joined the program? Some people do, but most people don't.
No, not really. Aside from coworkers, I didn't really hang out with anybody. I was working 2 full-time jobs and coming home and just, no friends.
The normal thing. So let me ask you this. When you entered the program, as you have lifetime access to it, but as a new student, an in-between student, and a graduated student that still has the ability to go back and refresh as needed.
Yeah, I still go back to this day and look at some of the things. It's helped me.
What's funny is I do too. Did you ever see one or more times as you're going through the steps of the program, like when I'm teaching you a lesson or doing a coaching call with you, were there moments that you experienced that this lesson that Denver's teaching me, this coaching call that I'm on with Denver or the other coaches, they are telling me to do the exact opposite of what I think will work?
A lot of you thinking, well, I've got to become the best version of myself if I want my marriage restored. I've got to go change. I've got to go do everything differently. All the stuff that she told me of the reasons she wants out of the marriage, I've got to go change those things. If you've already done all of that, but it hasn't worked, put that in the comments if that's you. Have you become the man that she said she's always wanted, but it's not enough? Maybe you were an alcoholic. Maybe you were a controlling narcissist. Maybe you were a psychopath. Maybe you were verbally abusive. Maybe you weren't intimate with her. Maybe you didn't value her opinion. But now all of a sudden, you do all of those things, but it still hasn't worked. Here's the question. Put in the comments if you have realized that that's not enough. You changing is a beautiful thing, and that's probably a requirement.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be enough to save the marriage if she has confirmation bias.
Yeah.
You've got to lead her to change.
This lesson that Denver's teaching me, this coaching call that I'm on with Denver or the other coaches, they are telling me to do the exact opposite of what I think will work.
Yeah, I mean, my
And
emotions.
maybe even
Yeah,
scared the shit out of you a little bit when we
yeah,
gave you a coaching session or so share that. Share that.
right. I just know like some of the things I really didn't want to do, but I had to align my actions with my goals, like you taught us, align your actions with your goals instead of your feelings. And I was scared. I remember there was a couple of times I was scared, but at the end of the day, it turned out it was actually kind of fun. Uh,
Yeah, it's fun when you do something that you're so nervous about, is it going to work?
right. And you wouldn't think it would, but it does.
And
It
then
really does.
you're collaborating with your brothers. Like, he told me to do this. Is this guy crazy? And they're like, bro, what are they saying when you have those moments, bro?
Right. What else you got to lose? Just do it. That's what they would tell me. And
Yeah, but
I
I've
would
seen
do-
them telling you this, and I've also seen you telling other students this, that were saying, I'm scared, and you're saying, go do it. It worked. I was scared
Mhm.
too, but I did it. And yeah, what do I have to lose? And in some cases, people have something to lose. They're in the mindset of, well, if I do this and it makes things worse, then I do have something to lose. So that's part
Right.
of the reasons that you do get a little bit fearful or scared. When I was the first student in some of the stuff that we're doing now, I was scared to do it. Like, everything in me, I was like, holy crap, what if this does backfire? But I was in a situation where I literally did tell myself, what do I have to lose? And because I was a first student, there was no iron sharpens iron support group. I developed a masculine intimate relationship with a psychotherapist that was 96 years old. And a lot of this stuff, he actually, some of the things that I was missing before I did this version of the course, of course, the education that I got from that, along with a lot of other things, helped me take those bold steps and realize I don't have anything to lose, but I have everything to gain. And I remember some of those steps where I was like, wow, that actually worked. And that's what made me too feel good, because it gave me confidence to see that aligning my actions with my goals instead of my feelings is literally rewriting my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you start seeing the paradigm shift and you started realizing, wow, not only am I working to restore my relationship, which was your goal when you joined the program, but I'm rewriting and writing down, literally in writing, the life that I want. What was the moment, and what was the like the day, if you had a day or an aha moment where you're like, not only am I working, when you joined the program, your goal was 100% to restore the marriage. But as you're taking those steps, what was the moment when you started realizing that that's not my goal anymore? That's not my only goal anyway. I see that I'm rewriting my life, literally. What was that like for you? At what moment, as you were going through the process, did things click in a different way?
I'm going to say whenever I realized that all the changes that I was making for myself was dramatically impacting the people around me
Like
in a
who?
positive way. My coworkers, I would go to work and they would notice that I was happy. Yeah, that was completely different from the norm. I'd go to work and I'd be this sad, depressed man.
Normal.
Normal, yeah. And I'm coming to work, I'm smiling, I'm in a good mood. And people, I remember some of my friends would come up to me and be like, dude, are you on something? Like, no, I'm not taking anything. I'm just happy. I remember a couple of my friends asking me about it, and I would try to talk to them and tell them what was going on. But I think that was my big aha moment, was whenever I realized that my actions were affecting others around me, and I wanted to be that positive influence for others and be that example.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I remember making that transformation myself as kind of like the first step. At what point, like let's say day one, you start the program, how many days and or weeks would it say that from the time that you started the program, as you're walking the new journey to change your life, how far into the program in that 7-week transformation process would you say before your friends started coming to you and say, what's going on with you, bro? Like, and basically what they're paraphrasing, what they're meaning is, I want some of what you got. Where did you eat that from? Like, what drug is that?
Right. I'm going to say probably I think it was the third or fourth weekend of the program where I started really noticing people walking up to me and asking me what was going on, what drugs I was taking. But it was relatively quick in the program that everything just started to turn around. Like even my marriage kind of did a 180 from where it was.
So talk about that a little bit. What were the changes that you were seeing in the marriage, whether that was in you or in her? Explore that just a little bit.
Well, like everybody else around me, she noticed that I had changed as well. Of course, at the time, she didn't want to believe it. But I'm going to say that I definitely spiked her curiosity for sure. And that's when things really started to take off with me. So,
How did you know that you had spiked her curiosity? And curiosity is level one of attraction, where whenever we meet a new student in the program, there's no curiosity. There's actually boredom and zero interest. And so one of the first things that we do quickly is, as we're changing you, we're teaching you how to change her. So when somebody becomes from not interested at all to they're now becoming curious, and with curiosity being level one of attraction, describe that experience, like, and how you saw those changes start to unfold in her because of your changes.
yeah, I know that the very first thing that I realized that the changes were actually starting to take hold, and she started to question me about how I even communicated with her, like text messaging, like what's going on here? You're being weird. And normally she wouldn't have cared. She wouldn't have cared if I wouldn't have texted her all day. And then she would ask me what I was doing, where I was going, who I'm hanging out with. In the past, it didn't matter what I was doing.
Didn't care.
She didn't care. Didn't care.
You were the trash that she rolled to the curb, and she was completely okay that the trash truck was on your street about to load it up, right? And you saw that started changing. As far as the text message and the communication, how that was changing, did you make the transformation that my goal in the program for all of the students, and 80% of the students do it in 7 days, and 20% of the students, it takes like typically a few more days, like 12 to maybe 2 weeks, but always it's supposed to happen within 2 weeks at the latest. The course is designed to make that transformation in your communication in the first 7 days, which is entirely possible. Did that happen for you in 7 days, as far as you really, really understood what I was teaching? I have a lot of people that come in that are like me, that are ADD, and they'll rush through those modules on communication. And they're like, they listen to the teaching almost like it's another YouTube video, but it's not. It's probably the most powerful thing in the whole course, is to change what comes out of this by changing your heart, which changes your mind, which the Bible says out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. Did you have that transformation that you're supposed to in the first 7 weeks? And if so, who all saw the transformation that kind of come to you and said,
Right.
what? You're like,
Yeah, I did. I had it.
Why are you talking weird?
Yeah, I had it within probably the first 2 weeks. I know the first week it was a little difficult for me to grasp it, because I'd have to sit there and think about what I was wanting to do. And over time, I remember it became easier as you started to practice what you were taught in the program. But I was going to say within 2 weeks, I was pretty crafty at what I was doing.
Well, 100% of the time, I always recommend, if you don't see that turnaround in the train because of your new communication in your first week, you 100% need to get in our coaching call like on your 7th day, because it should have already happened. And if it hasn't, then you need support. It seems like, I think I remember that you needed that. Did you have to get on a coaching call with me around communication to make sure that it happened in your 2nd week, or do you remember?
I don't think I had any issues with communication, really. I know I needed some help with some certain scenarios that you were able to get me through it. But
yeah, and I definitely want to.
I remember you used my text messaging in the program the way I was messaging.
Yeah, we actually used it as examples to give the other students, and I like to do that ever so often, to just give fresh examples, so nobody can say, oh, the examples that you gave us from 3 months ago, maybe that's outdated. No, it still works. Let's show you again with the new student. So I forgot about that. I knew that we had a call around that or something, but that's probably what I'm talking about. As you were going through this journey, what was the hardest part, if there was a hard part? What was the hardest part of the process, and how did you push through it, if there was a hard part for you?
The hardest part was getting over me. I was the hurdle. Everything, if you think about it, it's easy. Everything's really easy. You just got to do it. So there was no technically hard part other than I had to get over my own fear of it.
Let me ask you a question about it not being hard. So as men, it has been ingrained in our DNA for thousands of years that anything worth having is worth fighting for. And the connotation up here is, if I want the result, I have got to bust my ass, and it's supposed to be painful, grueling, and hard. That if I want the life that I'm supposed to have, or the relationship that is good for me, that I have to climb this grueling mountain to the top, and it's going to be this grueling journey, and I'm going to be sweating, and I'm going to get cut, and I'm going to bleed. And then you come into the fold, and I show you that is a lie from the pit of hell that we've been told our whole life. So as a man thinketh is he. And once you start realizing that everything that you want in your life, it may require discipline, which is the result in the destiny of where you end up, whether that's in your fitness, whether that's in your relationship and or your finances. Yes, discipline is going to be required, but it's actually easy to create the life that you want. We've been lied to. That's almost impossible for somebody that's probably watching this video right now to believe it until they become a student. At what point during the program did you say, wow, this is easy, and I literally can't even believe my eyes because I've never experienced something like this that's so easy, giving me the result of something I want to achieve? I've never experienced something like this.
Right. I'm gonna say probably within 4 to 5 weeks of the program, I was like, this is easy, because I remember the first part of it, I was scared and I had to get over myself, and not really being sure if I do something, whether it's going to have the effect that I want. But probably within the first half of the program, I was able to get through it and see that it actually was an easy thing to do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Let's go back a little bit to specifically the marriage. Most men, whenever I meet them, their wife feels zero emotional safety to be herself, express herself, or even discuss what's on her heart, good, bad, or ugly, with her husband. When I met you, did your wife feel emotionally safe in communication with you?
Absolutely not. She didn't want to open up to me at all.
So how did your new leadership in the marriage, what were you doing differently that made her feel safe?
I was just being positive. I remember being, positive, polite, playful, just being myself around her, and never having any anger towards her, no outbursts. Eventually she would come up to me, and she would be angry, and I would have to just pretty much sit there and eat it and still have that smile. And that's completely different from the person I used to be. I used to argue with her, and we'd get in screaming battles. And
When I
think that's what it was.
when I first met you, what was normal in the way that she treated you? You mentioned like if you went out or whatever you were doing, she didn't care. What was the vibe like in the home? Was it cold shouldering? Was
It
it
was cold shouldering and any
resentful,
type of,
hateful?
yeah, resentful, hateful, any type of communication. It was anger
So
all the time.
fast forward to today. How does she treat you now in communication or otherwise?
Oh, we talk every day, and it's always playful.
So positive, polite, and playful.
Yep.
Has there been a shift in her level of respect towards you, and also maybe your level of respect towards her?
100%. Like, she's not the evil person I thought she was at one point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's definitely a change now compared to what it used to be.
Are
And
you the evil person that she once thought you were?
definitely not. No.
Let me ask you this. How do you feel about personally yourself now compared to when you started?
I never want to go back to that ever again. I'm the best version of me. Like, I feel better now in my 30s than I did whenever I was a teenager. And I like who I am, the people that I'm around, and everybody enjoys being around me. The whole program just changed my life, not just my marriage.
As you make the transformation to become a 1% of a 1% man, and I think we should always strive to continue to go even next level with that. That when you get to one place, it's no reason to stop. It's time to keep going. And the reason I say keep going down the mountain instead of what we've always been told going up the mountain, is because the pathway to success is not the hard road. It's walk down the mountain and become the person that has the life that you were created to have. And that's the reason other people are magnetically drawn to you, because it becomes a spiritual journey. For you, how would you say, or what would you say this has done for your confidence as a man, not just in your marriage, but in your life overall?
100% turn it around. Like, I wasn't a confident person. Whenever someone mentioned Justin, you wouldn't associate the word confidence with him. Today, I'm just a confident person, and I think it's great. I love that I took the time to invest in the program, because, like I said, it's changed my life 100%, and I would do it again. if I needed to.
Let me ask you this. If your wife were to jump on a Zoom with me, or your ex-wife rather, because you guys got legally divorced, if she were to jump on a Zoom with me and I were to say, what were the changes that she saw in you, how you changed? What were the changes that she's seen you make for you?
My changes, I'm going to say that she's going to say that I showed up for her. Like she was able to start trusting me again.
Mm-hmm.
And that was funny because I was in control of that part.
I love that. It's never up to your wife if she can trust you. That's 100% up to you. And we take you on a journey to teach you how to understand that. But it's beautiful that you're acknowledging that. What are some other changes she would say you make? Obviously, she would say, well, his body's transformed,
Oh
but
yeah, 100%.
so you're getting the body that you want, that you should have. You're taking back your life literally. What are some other changes though? Like around communication or just building intimacy or valuing other people, or, even positioning yourself to change her, and maybe even positioning yourself so that you're always that 1% of man that has a heart to every person that's in your path, that you make them feel heard, valued, and seen. If you're giving your time, if they're deserving of your time, and maybe even when someone's not deserving of your time, you politely exit.
Mm-hmm.
What would she say is the changes that you made in any or all of those areas?
This week, we only have a limited number of spots for my live free marriage U-turn masterclass. What I want you to do right now is pause this video and scan the QR code that my video editor is putting on the website. If you're watching this on your cell phone, you can go to the comment section and click on the link, or simply type in the website that's on the screen, which is denvergriffin.com/masterclass. Right now, pause the video, go register for that, and then come back, and I'm going to give you a second free resource.
What would she say is the changes that you made in any or all of those areas?
Definitely when it comes to communicating with her, I wasn't the greatest when it came to listening to what she was wanting to actually say to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to show her that I appreciate
So,
her for,
so what do you mean by that? Did you have wax in your ears, or your hearing aid batteries were dead when you said you couldn't listen to her? What does that mean exactly?
So I'm going to say that what she was actually trying to communicate with me, like I wasn't putting it together. It was, oh, I hear you. And then, go out in one ear and out the other. So I guess you could say I had earwax, but I was able
So if we were to dig down in that change that helped you remove the earwax, what was the change that you made that she saw? So yeah, now she feels heard, but why did she feel heard? What was the change you made to make her feel heard?
with the communication, I was able to pretty much just relay to her that I know what she is trying to communicate with me.
Yeah, that you're reading her words and you're not just responding for the sake of responding.
Right.
That you're responding in a way that makes her feel like he actually heard or saw or understood what I'm saying. This is where we go back to, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. And one of the reasons that relationships fail, even friendships fail, is because our heart's not conditioned to make somebody else feel valued, like we appreciate their perspective of what they're saying. And it's not from a place that we don't care. It's from a place of we don't know how to do that. And until you're taught how to do that, you don't know what you don't know. Would you say, as you walk this journey, especially around communication, that it's helped you understand that there was some things that you did not know, and now that you learned that, it wasn't just information, but it was transformation regarding your entire life and anybody that's in it?
Yeah, 100%, most definitely.
All right, so let me ask you this. If there's another man watching this video right now and he's at an all-time low, he's looking at losing everything that he values, losing his children, losing his family, losing his wife, losing his assets, half or more of his income, and being faced with financial poverty, putting everybody in a worse off place, being faced with emotional poverty. He's having feelings of hopelessness. He's considering checking out. His job performance sucks. He just feels worthless because his wife is driving the train to hell, and he desperately wants to help her, himself, and the family by taking the steering wheel, putting the train in reverse, or stopping it first, then sticking in reverse, and going back to the life he's supposed to have, the relationship he's supposed to have. To take, right now, this man feels like he has zero say-so in the destiny of where he ends up. What would you say to that hopeless guy right now that there's so many circumstances that might make him feel hopeless? Sometimes it's because the wife has moved out, there's a legal divorce, and she's living with her new boyfriend. I mean, the reason I say this, whether that was your case or not, you've seen men in the program that were in the same place as you are, but were even in far worse places than you were. You know what I'm saying? Restraining orders, all kinds of crazy stuff. What would you say to that guy today that believes there's no hope for his life and there's no hope for his relationship and or his family or his destiny because somebody else is driving that train to just ruin it all and he don't know what to do? What would you say to that gentleman?
Right. I mean, first off, I tell them that there is hope, 100%. I remember I was in the same boat. There was no hope for me. And then, I was able to completely turn myself around. You got to stop feeling bad for yourself. You got to bring yourself back up and be the man that you need to be. But definitely that if he were to come into the program, that you guys would definitely have the tools that he would need to make the changes that he needs to change his marriage.
What would you say to the guy? And this is a very, very common thing. Okay. There's a lot of support groups out there for Christians, in particular for Christians. And close to 100% of those support groups, they're not giving practical steps. We have couples that go to church to their preacher to try to get church counseling around the Bible. And more often than not, the pastor, the preacher, the priest has never been in their situation where the wife wants to exit the relationship. She's driving the train to hell for the man, taking him to hell with her. And he believes that he can have the life that he wants, but he, so to speak, he's just given the relationship to God. He's putting all the requirements to restore the relationship in his faith, but he's not exercising that by doing everything that he can because he doesn't see a path. He's found some other, whatever you said, cherry pie or something like that you said earlier. Maybe they've tried these things. They've tried no contact, and maybe they saw a result for 3 seconds, but it made them feel better, but it did not restore their relationship. What would you say specifically to a Christian that is putting all their faith in God to restore their marriage, saying, I just give this to God, and I'm trusting God that if this is supposed to be restored, if the woman that's driving the train to hell and taking me there with her, if it's God's will that we don't go to hell, then I'll just sit back and let that happen. What would you say to that guy? Are you a Christian?
Oh, I am. Yes.
Okay. So I knew that you're a Christian, but I wanted to hear you say that verbally. And so understanding the framework around church and religiosity, because I am too. I mean, it is the most important part of my life. When I get up, my first breath is to thank my Creator that I have another day. And then my first action step is literally say, what can I do for the kingdom today? If the Lord's Prayer says, let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, my first goal is how can I take action steps to practically do my part to make that happen? It's the reason I was created. It's the reason I named the support group Iron Sharpened Iron, because I truly believe that we're all supposed to be warriors to serve other people, that we have a purpose. We're here for a reason, and God has a plan for our life and our relationship, and to position our partner to be our helpmate, to honor him and where we're taking that, if that makes sense. What would you say to that guy that literally doesn't understand that the reason you're still feeling hopeless and you're asking people to pray for you in your marriage is because you're not exercising your faith? What would you say to him about, in the context of what we're doing inside the Divorce Stoppers program, how we teach you to take action steps that work for you regardless of your faith, but it's certainly also, regardless of your religious beliefs any. Honestly, you could be agnostic or atheist. I don't care.
Right.
It's the reason I don't market the program as a religious organization. I don't care what your faith is. What we're teaching not only is backed up biblically according to my beliefs, but it's also backed up by science. What would you say to that guy that's just given his marriage to God and he's not doing anything else on his own?
Right. He has to be the one to take the steps to actually fix his marriage. What's the Bible say, that it get your ox out of the ditch or something like that? I mean, just giving it to God, it's not going to completely turn it around. I'm sure he wants your marriage to work out, but you have to make the steps to make that happen.
What do you think is the reason that most men fail to turn their marriage around, even if they want to, if they're not in this program?
Bad advice from other friends and guys and definitely, I remember getting some of the worst advice from some of my friends, and it would not have worked at all. It
Because they're giving you advice based on their feelings. They love you, and they just don't want to see you hurt anymore. And this is what I mean when I say God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And are you seeing that scripture even manifested in your own life in different areas? Are you having an aha moment up here where you're like, where am I going now? Where am I being called that's in a different level? And maybe even if I'm staying like in the same position with my job or my career, how can I go next level in that to serve other people on a different level? So what would you say is different about this compared to coaching, therapy, or any other advice that's out there?
It's completely different therapy. I had therapy, and even my wife was in therapy, and I know that she was pretty much convincing her to divorce me. The complete opposite of what you were trying to get me to do and what I wanted to do. But I know that I had to be the one to make the changes, and that was the big thing for me when it came to picking this place, picking Divorce Stoppers.
All right, so let me ask you a question. If you've got a guy out there that's just watching YouTube videos endlessly, his goal is to save his marriage, and he's in a marriage that's supposed to be saved. It's supposed to be restored. You know what I'm saying? But all he's doing is watching videos, getting more information, but his wife has confirmation bias. If the wife has confirmation bias, you'll never restore your marriage watching YouTube videos, because YouTube videos are just information. And if you're trying to change the coil on an E46 BMW, YouTube is amazing to give you the information necessary to do that. But you're not going to get enough information fast enough to have the transformation that's required to change your wife. Has your new leadership changed your wife?
Definitely.
Or your legal ex-wife?
Yeah, 100%. Just with the way she communicates with me and the amount of respect that we have for one another, I was able to completely turn her around just by my actions alone, and how I, just she saw who I was and wanted to partake in that.
Is there anybody else in your life that your new leadership has also changed them?
Everybody, my coworkers. I recently got a promotion.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Do you think that promotion that you recently got in some way was directly tied to your new leadership, that you've walked in this transformation process?
Yeah, 100%. It taught me who I needed to be and how I needed to interact with others around me.
Let me ask you this question. You know, because you're a student, that this is a high-ticket coaching program. For somebody out there that's looking for maybe like support at the church, because a lot of times the church is going to give you that support for free. Ask me how I know that. Because when I started this program, it was started in the back room of a little bitty Baptist church in Arkansas. And it was one of those programs that was started through the church for free. That's why it took 7 months to a year to go through the transformation process, because it was free.
Right.
For somebody out there that's looking at the free help, knowing that this is not free, the YouTube videos are free, and I do everything that I can on the YouTube videos to provide content. So somebody that financially, they don't have as much to lose. They don't have a house that they're going to split. They're not going to lose their life savings in their divorce and their rental property. It's not going to devastate them financially because they've never had enough assets for it to be a financial loss. So in the YouTube videos that I do, I'm always dropping these golden nuggets. That way, if we have somebody that's trying to restore their relationship and get their life back on track, but they've never accumulated any wealth and there's not really a financial loss, for those students, a lot of times it doesn't make sense to invest financially, because you know what I'm saying? There's not a financial return if there's no loss. But for the men out there that have something to lose, but maybe they're a tight ass and they're looking for those free resources from the church, does it make sense from a financial perspective to invest in a high ticket coaching program? And is that financial investment, are you going to get a return on the investment? Maybe even financially.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to say that it is worth it. It was.
So let's say you're looking a guy in the eye that's getting free help from the church, and which almost never works. Now, if a couple go to their preacher, maybe. But if the wife wants out and the man wants to keep it, and it's ruining his life because he's holding on to that and he doesn't know what to do to change her and to change himself. I've never heard of an example in 11 years that I've been doing this where the guy went to church and the preacher had the wisdom to give him because the preacher's never been in his shoes. What would you say to that guy that's still looking and cycling through the free resources on YouTube, the free help from Christian programs and organizations that are biblically based, but none of those programs are necessarily designed to help a man facing an unwanted divorce? The wife wants it and he doesn't. None of those cater to that. What would you say to that guy that's still taking advantage of the free resources concerning the financial investment, and is he running out of time?
Yeah, definitely. He needs to, if he's able to, he needs to invest in the same in the program that I use, like Divorce Stoppers, because usually the free help that you're getting from that preacher, it's not going to work. It didn't work for me, and time was of the essence, and I needed to do it.
Yeah, and the reason it didn't work for you is God doesn't necessarily call the qualified, he qualifies the called. If that preacher has not been in your shoes and navigated the waters to go where you want to go, he doesn't have the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, or the wisdom to help take you where you're wanting to go. So concerning the financial investment, no right or wrong answer. What you invested financially to come into Divorce Stoppers, has it come back to you?
Yeah, 100%.
How so?
More so.
How so?
Just who I am today. Heck, I may not even be here if it weren't for the tools in the program and for you and for the brotherhood and the Facebook group. So I'm going to say most definitely it was a small investment, and the returns were out of this world for me. It changed my life completely, 100% forever.
One more question. Recently, I hired a new enrollment coach to do strategy sessions. 2, actually. Oh, if you count Marcel, does those, sometimes 3. Occasionally, because Tyler's new, and I got another guy named Chad, he's new, they'll want to pivot into trying to sell this program to somebody. Even though I'm constantly doing reviews with them saying, stop freaking trying to sell this. That's not what we're trying to do. If it makes sense, then do it. Help them with the enrollment process. What would you say to a gentleman that's going to book a call with us if they come on there expecting us to try to sell the program to them? Or even if one of the guys that work for me start trying to sell it to them, what would you tell that guy that's expecting us to convince him to maybe come into that call with a different mindset before he even gets on that call with us? Because I don't want to try to sell it to anybody, nor do I want anybody that represents my company, but I still have humans that are learning.
Right. I know from my experience that you didn't try selling it to me. It was just the authenticity and the genuine, I want to help you. That's what really got me to come in and invest in the program.
But what would you say to the men that they're coming onto the call? So I'll give you an example. Tyler did a call with a gentleman yesterday, and he told me the guy immediately said, when Tyler's interviewing him to see if he's a good fit for the program, I literally make my enrollment coaches fill out an application, and I have artificial intelligence involved that helps them decide, is this guy a good fit for us? Do we even want to allow him into the program? And the guy told Tyler, listen, I want you to convince me if I should do this or not. I'm not trying to convince you if the other way around. He's like, look, pivot the roles here. And Tyler said, no, you need to kind of go back and watch some more YouTube videos and figure out what you want to do. And then we can jump out. Tyler wouldn't even continue the call. What would you say to that guy that is expecting to book a call with us and us convince him that this is the right thing? Because we're not ever going to do that. We will discontinue the call if somebody tries to take it there. What would you say to that man before he books a call? Or maybe he should even wait about booking the call. What would you say to that guy that's expecting us to convince him on that call? You know what I'm saying? Like my enrollment coaches that are on the call, they're not coaches inside the program. They don't have the wisdom that I have or that I teach. They're not Marcel or myself. They don't actually have the wisdom to help somebody restore their marriage. What would you tell him about the call before he books the call? Maybe, for example, let me tell you this. I don't want you to try to sell this right here on this YouTube video, but maybe if you're passionate about the results that he's going to get in the program, transfer that passion, and however you choose to do that's up to you.
I would tell him that he definitely needs to enroll in the program for sure. Like I said in the past, it changed everything about my life, and I know I was hopeless and contemplating suicide.
So I'm looking at you, Justin. I'm thinking about checking out. I have a counselor that's helping me deal with my childhood trauma, and that's really my focus right now. And I've been going through that for 6 months, and I still am having thoughts of suicide because it's not helping me, because every session we're focusing on my problems. And we've even uncovered some of those roots, which is amazing. Would you say that that guy whose life is over and he's focusing on his problems, that this course called Divorce Stoppers is designed to stop focusing on the problems, but realize all of the shit that God's allowed you to go through in your life, including a failed marriage, that we have a plan to use all of that for your good to move forward?
100%. Most definitely.
So if I'm looking at you and saying, I'm Justin, my wife wants to divorce me, I don't know what to do. We've tried everything. She's tried everything. We've tried counseling. We've tried coaching. We've tried no contact. I've tried these other programs with Cherry Pie and all these other things, but none of it's worked. What do you think about what you went through? Like, should I do it, and why?
Yeah, definitely go through with Divorce Stoppers. I tried the other programs with the Cherry Pie and it didn't work out, but it'll just change you 100% to be the person that you need to be and to be the man that you were always called to be. And it'll change your leadership.
So in closing, anything else that you want to add, that you want to share with me personally, you want to share with the other coaches that are in the program, because they're going to be watching this. They all watch these videos. Maybe even your other students in the Iron Sharpens Iron group that they just started in their first week, their second week, and their third week, and they're seeing some stuff in there. They're like, wow, this is scary. What would you tell everybody right now in the way that, just anything that's on your heart that you want to share to me, the coaches, or your fellow brothers or potential new brothers? What's anything else that's on your heart that you would want to share?
And just keep pushing through and go through with the program and do what Denver and the other coaches are telling you to do, even if it doesn't seem right. And even if you're scared to do it, because aligning your actions with your goals and not your feelings is the way it's going to happen for you.
All right. And then today for you, where are you at in your life?
With me,
what's
like
your
I said,
outlook? Where are you currently, and what's your outlook on your future?
So like I said, I ended up getting a promotion recently. I work on the ambulance. I'm a paramedic. And before completing the program, I weighed 325 pounds. And today I'm at 200 pounds. I've put on about, I'm going to say 30 pounds of muscle, started working out. And
so it's kind of like you went down to 180 and then packed on,
That's what I did.
170 something, and then packed on 20. So your body is literally transformed from a Christmas tree to a V.
Right. If you saw pictures of me, you wouldn't believe the transformation. I even had the Dr. Phil look. I completely changed my appearance to 100%.
Yeah, you look radically different in a very, very good way. What else?
I'm back in college now. I'm trying to get my bachelor's in health services management at this point in time. I have these goals that I never would have had before in the past. And every 6 months, I try to give myself a new goal and try to keep pushing forward.
And would you say all of those changes and the new mental clarity and the direction that you're going, would you say all of that, again, no right or wrong answer, but would you say all of that is directly tied, the changes that you've made and the changes that you've set yourself up through your education and your career and your body changes and your lifestyle changes? Would you say that all of those are directly tied to this men's leadership program that we call Divorce Stoppers?
Yes, definitely, because I didn't start making the changes until I learned what I needed to learn in your program. I am who I am today because of it.
Would you say that now you understand what I mean as a new student when I say God really does have a higher calling on your life than what you've ever stepped into, and that I teach men how to become 1% of a man by giving them practical action steps in order? And sometimes for the student, because we're all real humans dealing with life, sometimes it makes sense to go out of order, which is why we do the coaching calls.
We did that a couple times.
We did it a couple times. But regardless, there is a 14-step path to having the relationship and the life that you want. And sometimes we'll go from step 2 to step 9, and then we go back to step 3, or vice versa. Sometimes we go through step 1 through 14. And if we have somebody that gets stuck and they're not sure and it makes sense to switch, that's why we do the coaching calls. But would you say that having those steps, that it's literally a practical implementation of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to cause you to have a transformation up here? So we're practically teaching you how to step into that higher calling and that vision that God has for your life, which is far greater than what you've ever dreamed of.
Oh yeah, definitely. Everything that I've learned in the program is that I can directly tie to what's going on in my life currently. My leadership, my promotion, the money that I'm making now, my fitness, my spirituality, everything is directly tied to this program. I use it
So,
today, every day.
so now do you believe what I told you on your enrollment call? Because when I do these calls, I usually share this on surveys. The last two surveys that we've done for our students that have graduated the program between 18 and 24 months after graduation, 100% of students have responded and said that it has drastically affected their income because of the leadership changes they've made as a result of the program. 76% of those students have said within 18 to 24 months that their income has increased upwards of 100%. Do you understand now, as you've kind of been through the process, why we're getting those results back on the surveys?
Mhm. Definitely, because
Okay.
that's happened to me actually.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful, beautiful change. So when we ask somebody to invest in their time and their finances, I can always tell where a man's heart is by looking at his checking account. And when you ask somebody to invest their time and their finances into something to transform their life, the reason that we call that an investment opportunity is because we definitely have a plan of action to make sure that you're getting a return on your time and you're getting a return on your finances both. That's a number one goal for all new students, is that we're delivering more than what we're asking you to invest, that we're giving a higher return on that in the program and serving more than what you're actually investing. And our goal is to provide more value than what we're asking you to even invest on the front end in your time and or your finances. Would you say that result has been manifested in your life and that we delivered on that promise?
Yes, 100%. My, you guys definitely delivered for me.
I have another free resource that you can take advantage of right now. My video editor is putting the QR code and the website for this. It's called our free marriage U-turn masterclass. You can register for that right now. Now listen, this week we only have a limited number of spots for my live free marriage U-turn masterclass. What I want you to do right now is pause this video and scan the QR code that my video editor is putting on the website. If you're watching this on your cell phone, you can go to the comment section and click on the link, or simply type in the website that's on the screen, which is denvergriffin.com/masterclass. Right now, pause the video, go register for that, and then come back and I'm going to give you a second free resource. Okay, so now I'm assuming that you pause the video and you register for one of the seats before all the spots were taken up for the free marriage U-turn masterclass. The next thing that you can do, if you know that your wife has active confirmation bias and she's avoiding working on the relationship, the next thing I want you to do right now, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Make sure that you change the settings and the notifications to all so that you don't miss the new videos where I'm notifying you of my next class. But also click on the next video that my video editor is putting up right now, which is called Dissolve Confirmation Bias if she's an avoidant personality.